All right, everyone, so here are the notes for today. It starts with the number 5 because it's a continuation from what we did the last time we were together. So now, instead of going from a graph to an equation, now we're going to go to from an equation to a graph, okay? So we have y equals negative 2x plus 6. What number would be on the y-axis, aka what number is going to be our y-intercept? Well, this x, since it's just an x by itself, that's telling me that it starts at time 0, which means this 6 is going to be on our y-axis. It's going to be our y-intercept. Now what I want you to do is this next part with me. And I want you to, box this 6 in, kind of put an arrow here and say that it's the y-intercept. Then it says, will it go up or down and by how much? Well, we've already used the 6, okay? So right now we're looking for the common difference. Well, our common difference is the number attached to the x. It's negative 2. So I want you to box that and have an arrow drop down. If it's negative 2, will it go up or down? And that's going to go down. And it's going to go down by 2. Okay? So even on our table, we're going down by 2, and on our graph, we'll go down by 2. So let's use this information. Okay? So our y-intercept in red here is 6. So that means at time 0, we're going to have the number 6. Okay? We are going to go down by 2. We are going to subtract 2. Down and subtract mean the same thing. So 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. What about what would be above? Well, above that would be an 8. Above that would be a 10, right? When we go in the opposite direction, we're going to have to do the opposite stuff. Now, everything we're doing for this part of the unit is straight linear. It's all adding or subtracting. No multiplying, no dividing. Now, let's go ahead and graph this. So we have this first point right here, negative 2, 10. So when I start at the origin, I go backwards to negative 2, that's my x, and go up to 10. And I'm going to plot a dot right there. Again, to know which way you go, these are your x numbers. So you look at the side-to-side line for your x numbers. Okay? And then you look at the up-down numbers for your y. It even has a label, y. Okay? Our next point here is negative 1, 8. So let's do that. Starting at the origin, we go left 1 up to 8. Very good. Now I want you to notice something here. How did we get from that black dot to the green dot? Well, we went down 1, 2, right 1. Look at what we wrote over here. We go down by 2. So every time we go over, we have to go down 2. Every time we go over, we have to go down 2. Or every time we go down 2, we go over 1. So I don't even need to use my table. I just repeat that pattern, right? Everything's patterns here. So I go down 2 to the right 1 again, and oh my gosh, it's a 6 that's on the y-axis, which means it's my y-intercept, and oh my gosh, that matches. Okay, repeat that process. Down 2 to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. Okay, so this point is 1 and 4. Was that the next one on my list here? Oh my gosh, it was 1 and 4 after the y-axis. Then we had 2, 2. Let's see if that is the next one we see. It was 2, 2. So the movements you do down your table or the math you do down your table correlate or are related to what you do down your graph. So down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. These points line up with our graph. And look, it's linear, which means it's a straight line. So I'm going to draw a nice straight line here with some arrows. And there we go. Now some of you might be asking, where did you get going to the right 1, Miss Rolfe? Where did you get this right 1 information from every time we went down? Well, let's look at this table here. Every time we went down on the x side, we were adding by 1. right? That adding by 1 is representing every time we increase our x. So this x value was 2. We went to the right 1. That's the negative 1. Here's that negative 1. Wow. I know. It's pretty cool. All right. Number 6, we have y equals x minus 3. Well, this is weird. We've never really seen this before. What happens if we have just an x? Well, if you have just an x, the number that's technically in front of it is a 1. So technically we have y equals 1x minus 3. Just what happens is mathematicians, if they see a single x, they're like, nah, we don't need a 1. They know it's just a singular x. So keep that in mind. What's going to be my y-axis? What's going to be on my y-axis? What's going to be my y-intercept? Well, that's this number, the negative 3. What am I going to do as I go down the table? Well, this 1 is positive. So up or down? If it's positive, it's up. And we're going to go up by that 1. So looking at our table, our y-intercept goes with time 0 at negative, and it's a negative 3. As we go down our table, we are going up by 1, which is plus 1, right? Up, plus, same thing. So that means negative 3 after negative 3, we're going to have a negative 2. Then negative 1, then a 0, then a 1, then a 2. Above the negative 3, we'll have a negative 4. Above that is a negative 5. Now this time, let's start our graph with our y-intercept. And the y-intercept, like we've talked about, is always on the y-axis. And in this case, it's a negative 3 for our y-intercept. So I'm going to plot my dot at the negative 3. Now, we said, and you can use your table too, but I'm trying to get us away from the table. We said that that plus 1 earlier, that positive 1 that's in front of our x, that's telling us to go up by 1. So on my graph here, I'm going to go up 1. But I don't just go up 1. Okay? Every time I take a step to the right, I have to go up 1. That's what it's representing. So keep that pattern. Up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. Okay? And you can even go backwards, right? If you wanted to go backwards, if we went up to the right, well, the opposite of that to go backwards would be left and down. Okay? And see how that's still in a nice, beautiful, amazing straight line? So we're golden, Pony Boy. And if you haven't read The Outsiders, it's a pretty nice book. So very good. And look, even the dots match up. So we had negative 2, negative 5. Here's negative 2 on the x. Oh, look at that. That points at negative 5. We have negative 1, negative 4. Negative 1, negative 4. Look, that's where that points at. Okay? So these all line up. So with the math you do down your table tells you how to move on your graph. All right, now we're going to try it without a table. So we have y equals 3x minus 8. Well, the number that starts on the y-axis is this minus 8, right? It's always that number that's by itself. It's that number that would go with time 0, okay? Like when we were talking about an arithmetic. All right, let's plot that on our graph so we don't forget about it. So negative 8 on our y-axis because it's a y-intercept. Y-intercept's always on the y-axis. Then we have this 3. And this 3 is positive. So is that going to go up or down? Well, if it's positive, it's going to go up. And we're going to use that number. We're going to go up by 3. Each time we go take a step to the right. So every time we take a step to the right, we're going up 3. And here's where our point's going to be at. Do it again. Go to the right 1, up 3. Go to the right 1, up 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Go the right 1, up 3. And keep going until you can't go any further. And look at that. We have a beautiful straight line. If you have any curved lines or dots that go out of whack or out of sync, something's gone horribly wrong because this is straight linear. Ain't nothing supposed to be looking crazy. All right. I want you to try number 8 on your own. Okay, I want you to try number 8 on your own. See if you get the same thing. So pause the video, see if you get the same thing. Okay, so here's number 8. What's going to be on the y-axis? Well, our y-intercept is going to be that 7. It's that 7 that would go with x at time 0, right? Is it going to go up or down? Well, that -5 in front of our x is our common difference, right? Which means we're going to go down by 5, and we would go down by 5 on our table too. So we start at that +7 on the y-axis, which is the red dot here, and then we go down 5 and right 1. And the reason why we go right 1 is because if this point's x value is 0, right, it's x value 0, the next on our table would be the 1. So that's why we got to go to the right so we can get to that 1, right? Then we go down 5 to the right 1 again. Down 5 to the right 1. And that's all we can do. There's no more points for us to plot on this graph, okay? All right, there is homework, and I'm going to do a homework help video for that just to help you get started in case your brains forgot. All right, everyone, have a good evening.